Welcome to the second episode of 13 Ways to Lead with your host, the 13th Command Chief of the Air National Guard, Chief Master Sergeant Maurice Williams. Our featured guest today is Staff Sgt. Angelica Smith from the 118th Wing. I'm Master Sergeant Eric Gallion, and today's topic is all about leading by empowering people. Unleash true potential by laying out the vision, re-emphasizing the standards, stating the goals/objectives, provide quality training, empower, and hold members accountable. Step aside and allow those on your team to do what they do best. Empowerment and autonomy leads to engagement, which in turn will lead to great results. Chief, the floor is yours.
Hey, it's great to be here today and great to have one of those sharp NCOs with me today. Of course, she shocked me today. I want to congratulate her because when I met her, she was a senior airman just a couple of months ago in Tennessee at the 118th Wing out there with an intel brief. So right now I'm going to give Staff Sergeant Angelica Smith an opportunity to introduce herself and tell a little bit about background.
Thank you, Chief, and I want to thank you for this opportunity, first and foremost. But I'm originally from Ohio, and I joined the Air Force right out of high school. My dad had a big influence on that because he's retired from the Air Force. Okay. And I'm a geospatial analyst. My first duty station was at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, where I was with the 36th Intelligence Squadron. And then I moved to Nashville, Tennessee with the 118th Wing, which I've absolutely loved down there. So when I'm not in the SCIF, I am at Tennessee State University working on my degree as a civil engineering major.
Okay, well, good. That's great to hear. Very diverse background. Today's topic for the 13 Ways to Lead, leading by empowering people. What do empowerment mean to you?
Well, empowerment, what it means to me right now is providing, especially as a new NCO, is providing my airmen with opportunities or giving them specific tasks. In most cases, is to help them grow, but other times is to get the mission done because it's not always about us. Mm-hmm. And having grace when they do fail, but I also always want to be there to support them and guide them and essentially empower them when they're working through this task. So they can, when they become NCOs or getting close to that, they can advocate for themselves in a respectful manner and they can feel comfortable voicing ideas because people are so creative and we all have diverse backgrounds. No two people pull the same things to the table. And it might change our whole methodology of how we might do something one day when we just listen to people and give them opportunity to speak. Right.
Man, I listen to that answer. You're going to a lot of places there. Very good. So, hey, you said you was in an active component. So, based on your experience being active duty and now in the Air National Guard, do you see a difference in airmen being empowered based on to do the two different components?
I do feel like I see a difference, but I will say my experience is limited to Langley. Mm-hmm. I feel like in the Guard, you can invest more time with your airmen because you don't have to worry about them PCSing. And then I've seen a lot less airmen in the Air National Guard versus active duty. There's way more junior enlisted. Mm-hmm. So you have to distribute your time more widespread in most cases. So versus the Guard, they can focus on knowing their airmen, building those relationships and helping them reach those goals that they may have personal or within their career field or at the unit.
Okay. All right. Good. General C.Q. Brown, the current Chief of Staff of the Air Force, is talking about accelerate, change, or lose. And one of the things he talks about, is empowering people at the lowest level. And I think based on your unit where I was at, and the reason why I have you sitting here, because as a senior airman, the brief that you gave me that was very detailed. So I feel that environment that you're working in is really empowering those airmen within your organization. But how do you feel about that? Do you think the empowerment there in the section that you work at?
Oh, I would completely agree with you, Chief, because when you met me, I was actually working in a different flight temporarily. So I think a big component of empowering airmen is first equipping them and to be able to lead and grow. And so as I was in the TSA section, they told me what TSA was, but more importantly, they broke it down. So I truly understood what my work was, what it was for, and who it was going to, and the depth and gravity of what I was doing every day. So just knowing that alone makes you have a sense of pride, and you want to do better. You want to do your absolute best because you know the end result of what you're doing on a day-to-day manner, even though if you may not see the results tomorrow. So I would say the 237 have done an amazing job at equipping airmen and growing them.
What's your career goal aspiration?
I'm still trying to figure that out, Chief. But honestly, what I've seen at the 118th, I think I do want to continue to stay in the Guard. And as I move up in rank right now, I'm focused on becoming a good supervisor. I just recently got my first troop. So I want to do my best in guiding him and leading him to whatever pathways he want to go. But once I figure out how to be a good supervisor, I think the next step maybe a special duty, or when I hit Master Sergeant, something like what Master Sergeant Smith is doing, and be a travel exec or someone exec to see a different field of work and really expand on the admin section, because I know that's something where I need to grow the most at, because I cannot remember forms to save my life, but I have a good OneNote and I have my dates, what you need to do for your troops and different stuff like that to keep me accountable and keep me on track so I can guide my troops.
Last time I saw you was a senior airman, so now you're a staff sergeant. Get your weight up one more time. Hey, I'll get you on the travel exam. You do what Master Sergeant Smith is doing.
All right, sir. I'll hold you to that.
So what are you majoring in?
Civil engineering, sir.
Civil engineering. Okay, so you majored in civil engineering, but hey, we still hadn't figured out what we want to do in this career path here. Hey, one thing is very diverse background. Just continue to do that. So it's now, you say you have one, you got one airman up under you right now. So what plans do you have currently as you got this one airman? If you just had a crystal ball and set everything up, what would you give that airman to create an environment where they would feel empowered currently right now and what they know and where you are? What's your plans?
Right now, my airman is very quiet. So my end goal is to get him comfortable with advocating for himself and speaking up for himself, of course, in a respectful manner and when it's an appropriate time. So we're going to do the ACA, and I just want to see where his goals are so we can start building that pathway. Mission-wise, he's doing very well. So maybe one way to get his confidence up with speaking is maybe do a mission brief within our flight, because he may not talk much, but he excels at the mission. And I want people to realize that and acknowledge his work ethic and how well he does his job, because it should be noted.
Right. So you've already identified the strengths and weaknesses that you see in him by having those conversations with him. Good at doing the mission and doing his brief, but that connection and talking with people seems to be real quiet, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Hey, that's it right there. Hey, you got it down pat. Shoot, I'm about ready to take that staff sergeant. I'll go ahead and put Master Sergeant on right now.
I mean, step promotion is a thing.
She's ready to move on.
Oh, good. Hey, so growing up in your household, since your father was military, was your household structured in a military environment?
No, I'm the youngest. So my dad, he retired when I was about 7. Okay. So my siblings got to be on the multiple bases. They got to move everywhere. By the time I was born, my dad, he was in the reserves. So I did get to see some of the experiences, and he would always take us to the air shows, and we would visit multiple bases like Wright Pat, like will forever have a special place in my heart.
Okay, right.
Just being able to see that experience and what military life would have been if he was still active. Okay.
Well, that's good to be able to look back on that and see the things that especially now since you came into the Air Force, now the Air National Guard, and have those reflections to look back on. It really helps a lot. We have a lot of individuals in our organization that are trying to, as you said yourself, is trying to find their way in what they want to do in their career. And what advice would you provide to an individual that would be a senior airman, staff sergeant that may be unsure of what direction they want to go in their career?
I would say try to get as much exposure within your mission set, and then possibilities what you can do outside of that. Because right now I haven't been in my flight for too long, so I want to perfect my craft before I really move to somewhere else. So once you perfect your craft, I think it's important to see what options you have, because I had the opportunity to do, when I was at A1C, a course with the NGA. And it pretty much blew my mind of how many things I can do on the geospatial side, like as a civilian. And it seems so enjoyable, and just learning more about my job and capabilities and how expansive it is, that did kind of guide me into certain things what I did like, or mission sets that I want to cater to more than others. So I would just say try any experience you can, because you never know what you're going to like until you actually do it. That's how I feel the same way about engineering. I think I want to be a civil engineer, but when I'm actually out there, hopefully I do like it.
Right.
So, but you don't really know until you're like down in the dirt.
Right. Well, you mentioned about being exposed to a lot of things. And one of the things I talk about when I'm out there talking to airmen and doing enlisted calls and stuff, I inform senior NCOs, officers, that, hey, we need to make sure that our airmen in all AFSCs are receiving intel briefs at least a minimum 2 times a year, if not once a quarter, so they can understand the why and why they wear the uniform and their purpose in serving and doing their job. I think that's so important that we continue to do that, because everyone is not in a career field like yours where you are exposed to the information and have the understanding of why we do what we do as a Air Force and just as a nation to keep us secure. Other individuals that in other career fields that you are around, are they in tune with things that's going on that you know about? Are they in tune with that in other areas?
I think many people are not. Maybe ammo and, maybe supply, they might have an idea because they have to readily prep for these things. So I think those briefs would help them a lot. But also I feel like it can help the intel side too, because there's certain structures or systems that, like far as ammo, they're set up ideally the same. But if I've never experienced that, I don't know how they work. I don't know how they operate. So, it can be a give and take on both sides, where we both can grow and we both can learn from something. And I hope both sides come out with a better sense of purpose and pride in what they do, because like you said, we're all a puzzle. Right. And I think it's so important that somebody takes the time to, ideally supervisors at the lowest level, to really explain why their mission is important no matter what it is. Because I know intel specifically, but I know that burnout could be any career field. A lot of people, when we deal with contingency planning, we're just planning what if. And certain people, they don't see a result, so they can get tired of that. But somebody said to me, and this really stuck to me, they were like, we don't want our work to be used. Because if our work is used, we're in a pretty dire situation. Right. So just knowing the importance of that, that could prevent, that sense of I'm doing this for nothing. You're doing this for a reason. You need to put pride, because this might be the plan of action the officers choose. Right.
This may be the time when they say hit the pan. Yes, right. That may be the time when it happened. Providing that information on the why, to me, that leads to empowering people, because they know more. They act better. They think better. They put more emphasis on what they're doing in their job and where they conduct themselves, because they're empowered by the information. And that builds a sense of pride, I think, with people, and it gets that buy-in. Understanding the role that an individual plays, which relates to courage of an individual within their career field, which also give them understanding of what it means to operate in the profession of arms. So all that run together as we look at people, because that's I always say, the most valuable resource, and you got to feel that pride in it.
I completely agree, sir.
Yeah. We are looking at accelerating change. Do you see any changes in your career field based on how we're preparing to fight?
I think I'm starting to see change, but I don't think we're fully there yet. But I have seen like different units adjust accordingly. And I completely agree with General Brown. Like, we do need to accelerate change, and innovation has been a big topic in the Air Force for a couple years now. So I'm happy to see we're capitalizing on that and really trying to up-channel those ideas that fit whatever problem set we have.
So I'm going to jump to another subject. What do you like to do on off time?
On my off time, I like to travel. I'm trying to get outside of the country, but every time I try to get outside the country, something happens.
Yeah, you may get outside this time, may not be able to get back in. So I don't know, is this a good time?
Work out. I spend a lot of time with my dog. I have a Labradoodle.
Okay.
Yep. And then I just like to do a lot of outdoor stuff, like nothing too strenuous, but I just like to enjoy like being out in nature and going to different like creeks or rivers, like canoeing and kayaking.
Well, you know, because I asked about that because, you know, that social part of our life is very important to keep us active because, you know, we always got to be engaged, you know, physically, mental, and spiritual side of ourselves to be engaged. So I like to see what people do, you know, as I'm traveling out a whole lot, you know, one of the things I have to do, I have to get out and try to get some physical activity in. It's a little hard at times. I have to get up real early in the mornings to go get that run in and come back and get prepared for the day. But, you know, my outings, I get back in, hey, I like to play a little bit of golf. Not the best at it, but love getting out there doing it and trying it. So having that outlet, I think, is good, you know, because that keep us prepared for the fight as we go. And I say all that to, you know, as you think about cultures within the organization, within your shop and your unit, do y'all have social events that kind of bring people together?
Yes, we do have social events on Friday. Usually, the last hour of work, we just sit down, and we just really get to know each other off mission and just see what happens in their personal life. Because I think it's really good to have at least a rapport with the people you work with every day, even if you don't work with them every day. Just get to know what they like and just learn more about them. Because that's how you build relationships and, you know, build trust as well. So when something is going on, if it's not you that they come to, they know they have somebody that can support them. And I will say that's one thing my unit has been phenomenal with, because it has been a rough year for me, but they have had my back every turn, and I've appreciated it so much.
Right. Well, that's good, because that, you know, like I say, it building that trust and getting to know people, it builds a good culture, and that keeps the environment there. And one thing, too, it helps, you know, keep people in our organization as retention, you know. It goes back to that, you know, because one thing a lot of times I say, you know, people don't leave organizations, people leave people. And so as long as we have a good relationship and build that environment, people will stay around the organizations. You've learned now that, hey, you could go outside of the military and get a very high-paying job. But it's about the environment that you're in now that's very enjoyable to you, that keeps you there and keeps you, you know, driving to continue to grow. So, you know, as we got to keep those environment and that culture healthy everywhere we go. And I think all that, too, relates to empowering people in that situation.
I want to ask you about your rapport with your unit now. Did you notice a difference as far as building rapport with guardsmen versus active duty airmen?
Yes, I will say I felt supported at Langley, but there's a lot more people. And like I said, people come and go. So people who you become attached to, you won't always be able to rely on them unless you keep that close contact. Versus Tennessee, we're here and we have an ongoing joke. You join when you're 18 and you don't leave till you retire or die. So it's good to know that rapport will be long term, and no matter what, you just pick up the phone and that person will still be there, or they're just one building over or one shop down, so that you constantly have that support or that need. And especially as you go through the years of your life and different stuff, like those people have been with you through those experiences. And I feel like it's hard. You can have it on active duty, but it's much harder to maintain that.
How do you think that dependability affects your empowerment?
I think it's good because it can be humbling at times when people have seen you grow from a younger airman all the way as you advance through the ranks. So I think it can be humbling in a sense, but it also become encouraging because people can tell you like the things you improved on and how you fixed your flaws or new flaws that's developing, and then they can mentor you from that higher level no matter where you are in the rank structure.
Have you had a strong mentor in your life, or there been one person that you would look at and say, hey, that's been the person to help provide me the guidance throughout your career?
I couldn't say one person, but I will say there has been various people through different seasons. But that's one thing I am looking forward to with the Guard. There is one person that I feel like is the closest to that right now. Mm-hmm. And we both have a unique experience that like bonds us together because he actually used to be the ROTC instructor at my college. Okay. So we can relate to a lot of things, and he came from active as well. So he's definitely been the closest person to that, to guiding me and just his objectives he placed on the he's a new flight commander, but the objectives he did put on our flight. Mm-hmm. So I will say I feel like I'm beginning to build that at my unit, but because of like the active duty lifestyle, and then I haven't been in my current unit too long, I haven't really been able to get that, but I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I've never had one mentor. I kind of got bits and pieces from different individuals. No one that I can directly say, hey, that was my mentor, and just kind of grew from there. But looking back, I don't know if it'd have been more beneficial or not. I think it would have, but I just never had a person that I connected with like that as a mentor, because that mentorship, you're having that personal connection because you're willing to share things and divulge things personally and professionally so they can really help you grow, because it's, that's the long term as a mentor, not a short term, because they're looking at, not just a skill set, but developing you for the future. So I think that is good that individuals can have that one mentor, but we can all be successful.
Yeah, and then even if you don't have that one mentor, like you said, we all talk about how we have different diverse mm-hmm. backgrounds. How somebody says something could impact you completely different. Right. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if you don't have a long-term mentor, as long as that person's helping you grow and develop and expanding your perception of life and whatever it is in your career or outside. I think that's all that really matters.
What year are you in school?
I'm a junior.
We're going to finish on time?
I hope so, sir. Well, engineering is challenging, especially when you get to the upper level courses. And then, with the pandemic mixed in, right. it was a lot to handle. So I'm going to do my very best. But at the end, I'm going to finish.
Right.
And, right, resiliency, I'm going to finish. I worked too hard to get to this point. So there's no turning back. So we're going to finish, and I'm going to try to finish as fast as I can, sir.
Okay. All right. Because, when you finish, the degree ain't going to say how long it took you.
Exactly.
And it's going to have an end date on there when you got it. So that's the thing about it. That's what I tell people. Hey, stay focused. Don't worry about it. It ain't going to say it took you 10 years or 5 or 6 or 4. So just keep on pushing on it. Going back to empowerment, a lot of people sometimes do a comparison of empowering and micromanaging. Do you think that people get that confused if someone is trying to give them more freedom to be empowered, or do they feel like, hey, an individual's micromanaging because they're involved in other things and giving them a lot more stuff?
Well, in my personal opinion, I'm personally not a fan of micromanaging. I don't feel like it aligns with empowerment unless that person gives you a reason why you need to micromanage them. Right. But initially when we meet an airman, because our core values, we're going to expect they have integrity and give them so much of trust until they tell us otherwise. So I think when you empower someone, you give them a task that's adequate to their skill set or their rank. And I do think you should give them some space, but I think you should always be nearby to support them, to answer any questions or to help them along the way if they have any hiccups. And then, if hopefully they don't fail, but they do fail, you have grace and you see whether there was a disconnect, whether with the instructions or the vision,
Right.
or whether they just didn't comprehend something. Because when I did my internship this last summer, I was a sophomore with like very little engineering experience, but they treated me like an engineer. And when they talked, if the conversation got a little higher, they answered questions. They'll stop to explain things. And I was able to do things and reports that I never thought I would be able to do with my lack of experience, just because they gave me that trust and they gave me the resources to lean on. And they stayed nearby, even though I did everything on my own, and they just checked it and gave me feedback, but just giving me that support system while giving me the freedom to try to figure it out by myself, that allowed me to grow. But I also knew that I always had their assistance if I needed it. And I think that is the perfect balance that everyone should have, like I said, unless they show you otherwise.
Right. And one thing you hit on too was being there to provide, giving them the task, but being there nearby in case they need other direction, so you can help them be successful. And that goes back to as a supervisor, leader, or NCO, it's over people. Hey, you take the ownership on why you think they fail. Hey, maybe I did not articulate the instruction well. Maybe I didn't explain it well enough. Maybe I did not provide enough guidance. And that is a move of empowerment, because you're taking ownership of something is not right. Hey, what can I do better to help those individuals be successful? That, and I take that from a book that I read called Extreme Ownership. If something failed, I always look to, hey, what could I do to make that better? I got to own everything that is below me to make them successful and make the mission successful. And I think that relates back to, as we talk a little bit about empowerment, because it's showing them that, hey, the leader is taking ownership of it. I need to do a better job in, hey, listening and understanding as they provide information too. Everybody grows from it. So I think it's a joint thing in growing.
Have you ever seen an example of either a mission or a project fail because of lack of empowerment?
Yes, when I was at Langley, we had a new staff sergeant, and he came from maintenance. And just because he didn't have the experience, or he didn't know how it is, he wasn't qualified yet. But he did get qualified soon after. He was very hard on us if we made any errors before it went through the QC process. And so until he went through that training and understood like how easily it is to make a small error before the QC process, he was very hard. And I feel like not at that time, not the best leader. But once he gained that experience, he had grown phenomenally, and I think it built a better rapport within the flight, and he could relate to us hand in hand. And then once he knew, we were kind of given like set small challenges, like, okay, cool. What if you have a minimum of errors or something like that? Maybe I'll give you like a slightly longer lunch or something like that. And we really grew from that. And I'm so happy that he grew from that as well. And he even admitted that he's kicking himself in the face of how he entered our shop at that time. So I'm happy when they can learn from it. That's all that matters.
That sounds like an example of failing forward.
Yes.
Yeah. And Chief, you mentioned something about that beforehand too, haven't you?
Yes. About failing forward as individuals. We shouldn't take failure as something of being defeated. We should take it as a learning experience, because we learn from those failures so that we don't repeat it again. If we really digest it, and we learn how to go at a different path on it the next time. One thing I always say, hey, fail forward, pivot, make another decision, engage again. But now, a lot of people I have to explain to, hey, I'm not saying just make quick decision. Hey, make a calculated decision. Take some time to digest it and look at it and see if we go in another direction. We need to go in another direction on it. But I think it's a prime example of what you said. He learned that he felt a certain way after the way he entered in the shop and on the back end of the results. But it was a learning experience for him. That's something that stuck with him, and that's why he probably shared that later on in the direction he wanted to go.
So we're nearing the end of this podcast or this episode. Do you guys have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
In regards to empowerment, just support your airmen. create a positive environment where they can voice their concerns or their ideas and goals. And, you try to support them the best that they can so you can grow them and equip them to be better leaders, because they will replace us one day.
All right, folks, y'all just heard it. She just capped it up. I'm going to let it close out with that.
Well, thank you, Chief Williams and Staff Sgt. Smith, for your insights on leading by empowering people. Be sure to follow the Air National Guard on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And for more of Team 13, follow the Director of the Air National Guard on Facebook. Join us again next month on 13 Ways to Lead, where we will be talking to Staff Sergeant Tamara Silcott from the 155th Air Refueling Wing on leading by being honest. From all of us here at A&G Podcast Network, have a great Air National Guard day. Team 13 out. 13 Ways to Lead is produced by Major Amber Schatz. Our editor is Master Sergeant Brandy Fowler. This episode was recorded at the Secretary of the Air Force Public Affairs Studio in the Pentagon and was mixed by Master Sergeant Brandy Fowler.